Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. This is Dr. Ruan. If we haven't met before, my name is Dr. Cheng Ruan. I am a board-certified internal medicine physician and practicing out of Texas. And I think that a conversation with your physician is far more beneficial than any prescription. So let's have a conversation right now. And the title of this is, and what we're going to be talking about, is how wheat relates to post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, and all that stuff. And the relationship is probably not what you're thinking. Now, there's a whole lot of stuff out there about whether things are gluten-free. Is gluten really bad for you? What does gluten really does? What does wheat really does? What exactly is gluten? Is gluten really wheat? And I just want to clear up some mystifications real quick. So when I talk about wheat, I'm talking about wheat flour products, right? So we're talking about bread, a lot of sauces, some ketchup that has gluten and has wheat in them. And so what does this have to do with mentality? What does this have to do with PTSD? What does this have to do with anxiety? What does this have to do with depression? And so, hey Nicole, I know you're listening. Thank you for listening. You're always listening. So what does this have to do with all that? Well, let's examine what wheat does to the body first, okay? And then after that, we'll take that and relate it to the mentality, okay? So as we consume wheat products, and why do we consume wheat products? We consume wheat products because that's kind of what the government has been telling us to do, and what marketers for cereal companies have been telling us to do since the 1980s. When the original food pyramid came out, right? In the food pyramid, it was like this. In the bottom, you had your 6 to 11 servings of carbohydrates. And a lot of that it's in bread, right? And then in the middle, you have your proteins. And what's at the very top? At the very top of the food pyramid back in the 80s, right, is fats, including healthy fats. Okay, so what is that really based on? It's not really based on a whole lot of substantial research, but what that's based on is the American diet is a carbohydrate foundation diet, because you have that food pyramid with all the carbs in the bottom. Since then, the food pyramid has changed to a circle. But my point is that since the 1980s, we've been consuming a lot of wheat and a lot of flour products, a lot of carbohydrates in the bottom pyramid of the food pyramid, right? So what has happened since then? What has happened is that the rates of diabetes, the rates of pre-diabetes, the rates of obesity have skyrocketed, right? It has skyrocketed because that is what we were taught. That was what we were taught in school. We were taught in school by the food pyramid when I was in second grade coming from China. I remember learning about this stuff. But it has led to now a place where we didn't really want to be. You know, we don't really want to be in a country where 50% of the country is either diabetic or pre-diabetic, and a lot of people who are diabetic and pre-diabetic are also depressed. They have post-traumatic stress disorder, they have anxiety, and they're obese. Right? These are all very related things. So let's take a step back to see exactly what kind of diet and how the food pyramids really should be restructured a little bit. And so. Right now, we have public enemy number one, and that's really carbohydrates, right? We hear, low carb this and low carb that, and is that really good for you? Well, let's talk about what low carb really means. So we have to undo a little bit of what we were taught back in the 80s about the food pyramid, about the 6 to 11 servings of carbohydrates, including a lot of bread and wheat and noodles and pastas and products like that. And when you consume carbohydrates, including wheat, so it does a few things to your body. First, a lot of people have a hard time absorbing the wheat, and not only that, the wheat allows a lot of inflammation to happen in the gut, and that's a new concept called Leaky Gut Syndrome that we talk about. And Leaky Gut Syndrome is that a lot of people can't tolerate this wheat product. As it hits the gut, it creates so much inflammation. A lot of other stuff leaks out, and that's the concept behind that. It's a very simplified concept, but what does that do? It causes inflammation to occur over the entire body, not just the gut, right? A lot of people can have joint issues. A lot of people can have severe fatigue. A lot of people have bloating, abdominal bloating, and that does not make them feel very good. And when it doesn't make them feel very good, day after day after day after day, and depression sets in, anxiety sets in, right? And they've been through traumatic events, the post-traumatic stress disorder, it just makes it all that worse. And this cicada is really loud. Sorry. it makes it all that worse. And so I'm not saying that this happens for everyone, but this happens for a large number of people who are suffering from a lot of psychiatric issues like anxiety, like depression, like PTSD, right? A lot of these people are also on the obese side, right? They say, "Doc, I can't lose any weight. You know, I'm depressed, I'm anxious," and it's just a downward cycle. And then, but that has to do with the way that we're actually eating. A lot of us aren't actually eating whole foods. So, you know, I talk about wheat a lot, but it's not just wheat. It's about processed foods. It's about toxins that are in the diet. It's about preservatives. All of these things can cause a lot of inflammation to happen in the body, in the gut, causing that leaky gut syndrome. And then your entire body reacts to it systemically. Systemically means that it reacts over the entire body rather than just one area, right? So, so as we consume all these different things, and we follow the American diet with the food pyramid and the 6 to 11 servings of carbs, as you do that over the number of decades, everything that we predicted was going to happen with this is happening right now in America, especially in 2016, right? Antidepressants are the #1 prescribed medicines in the primary care setting. Okay, antidepressants are. And not only that, the rates of obesity, rates of diabetes and prediabetes skyrocketed more in the last 3 years than in the last 15, right? And this has to do with how our diet, or how our normal diet has really become, and how we were taught in the 1980s for this normal diet to have carbohydrates as a foundation, right? So let's talk about not only what's recommended for the diet, but let's talk about what people are doing these days versus what people were doing 15 years ago. A lot of people are these days have decided to not really make carbs the foundation. A lot of people have decided to make plant-based foods or vegetables the foundation, right? And after that, on top, they start layering the healthy fats, and then the proteins, and then essential oils and essential fatty acids, rather, that they have to consume. And when people go from the foundation of whole food and vegetables rather than carbohydrates and wheat products, guess what happens? A lot of the inflammation in their body is improved. They have less allergy symptoms. If they have autoimmune conditions like lupus and stuff like that, a lot of those symptoms get significantly reduced because the inflammation gets reduced. And blood pressure becomes better, right? And then diabetes and prediabetes can be reversed, right? And this is the phenomenon that's happening right now for a lot of people who are going on these diets. And the old concept of saying, hey, you know, don't eat too many eggs or don't eat too much steak because your cholesterol go up, well, that's kind of being not proven right now. And it's interesting to think that maybe these loaves of bread are contributing to your cholesterol more than lean grass-fed beef, for example. But that's exactly what we see right now. And it's because the #1 risk factor of heart disease and strokes and whatnot in this country is insulin resistance, is how much and how diabetic somebody is. And so that leading into the mentality aspect and the idea behind anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, these are all linked, because the way that you feel and the more inflammation in your body, they're all tied together. Okay, your mentality is linked to your body. They're all tied together. My mom does acupuncture, herbs, and Chinese medicine, and we believe in a yin and a yang and a qi that's balanced, right? If you're not balanced up here, you can't be balanced in here, and you can't be balanced with the food that you eat. So start controlling it by using food as medicine. Start controlling it by eating the colors of the rainbow. And I'm not talking about eating Skittles. I'm talking about eating whole natural foods that have different colors because they have properties and antioxidants within them that can be anti-inflammatory. So how do you start going about doing this? And there's multiple ways in going about doing this. First, you have to make sure that it's very simple. Whatever you eat, make sure that Mother Earth made it. Okay, It is grown from the ground. Or if you eat meat, make sure that it's grass-fed beef, for example, and make sure that whatever you're consuming is as natural as possible. We call it whole foods. Okay, no preservatives, nothing extra in there, because they can stimulate a lot of inflammation into your body. Okay, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story of somebody that I met a few years ago who came into my office, has severe post-traumatic stress disorder. He was in the military. He was a prisoner of war in Afghanistan for a few months, and he came to me after suffering that traumatic event. And he came to me, and he was really nervous in my office. He hates doctors. He hates being in anywhere near where there's doctors, because he had really bad experiences being in hospital systems. So what did he have? He had stomach ulcers from a lot of stress and eating really bad food like Cheetos every night. He has severe PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. He has severe anxiety. He was very severely depressed and didn't really know how to get out of it. And so I talked to him, man. I said, listen, you really have to use food to help you out. You really have to use food to really understand what your body can and cannot do. And he's like, Doc, I would like to, but I throw up every evening and every morning for the last 1.5 years. Every single morning. I have not had an episode where I didn't throw up. I was like, well, what's making you throw up? He's like, I don't know. I just wake up feeling anxious, and I just throw up. And when I throw up, I feel a little bit better. I was like, do me a favor. Don't throw up, okay? I gave him an antacid, and I said, this antacid is your backup. What I would like for you to do is I would like for you to eat these specific foods, and they're whole foods, eating the color of the rainbow. A lot of it's plant-based. I would like for you to eat these specific foods for the next 48 hours. Just 48 hours. Just see what happens, okay? So he looks at the grocery list, and he's like, Doc, this is very expensive stuff. I was like, just trust me on this. Just eat these foods in 48 hours. And in fact, I want you to come back to my office in 48 hours. So 2 days later, he came back to me, and he says, Doc, yesterday was the first day that I didn't throw up. I didn't gag. I didn't even feel like throwing up. I feel wonderful. I'm like, that's probably a placebo effect, because you just had this for 2 days. He's like, no, Doc, it's not a placebo effect. Is that I didn't realize that every time I put food into my body, like the Cheetos I eat every night, every time I do that, I have severe heartburn at night. But now that I don't have it, I'm not really anxious about it. My mind and my body is not dwelling on it. I don't feel like anything's wrong with me, and I go home and I sleep really well, and I wake up feeling super refreshed. And in the morning I feel so relaxed that I don't feel like I have to throw up. I'm like, well, that's really interesting. That's a really interesting concept. That's the first time I heard of somebody describing it like that. And I've dealt with many people with post-traumatic stress disorder, but he took it to a new level. And so I'm like, you know what? Why don't we do this for a week? And I want you to come back in a week, okay? And so he did this for a week. He came back in a week, and he says, Doc, it's been amazing. I have not thrown up since the day after I started eating right. I started eating these things. I was like, man, this is fantastic. This is the first time you haven't thrown up in the last 1.5 years. And he came in, and he was very teary-eyed and very thankful that we talked about something like this, because he was put on antidepressants. He was put on a lot of medicines for his ulcer. He was put on cholesterol medicine. He was put on all these different things. And what it took is really a conversation for him to understand, to educate him about food and whole food, to have such a profound impact on his psyche. His PTSD is significantly better. It's not cured. It is not cured. It is significantly better. And but guess what? It's been a year. I know it's been 2 years actually, and his ulcers are cured. He no longer has ulcers. He no longer has heartburn. He no longer has the anxiety before bedtime. And that's just such a great thing. And then he started doing things with his children. He started doing things with his wife, and he has 4 kids. Okay, he's got a lot of kids. He started doing things with his family. He starts feeling really great. He joined a boxing gym. He's got in the best shape of his life, And he came back to me, I think about a month and a half ago. He's like, "Doc, thank you for taking the time to talk to me about food and using food as medicine," because now he's off all his antidepressants. He's off all his cholesterol medicine because, well, he didn't really need it. He no longer taking blood pressure medicine. He was taking 3 different blood pressure medicine, and that the doctors kept adding on and on and on. That's why he didn't like any doctors. And so the idea behind eating whole and healthy food is exactly just it. But what's even more interesting is that he eliminated all wheat from his diet, because he realized every time he consumes something with flour and something with wheat, he gets palpitations, he gets body aches everywhere, his mind is not clear at all, and he becomes very anxious. And he's like, "Doc, I no longer eat bread. You know, I used to eat whole wheat bread. I used to buy whole flour and make stuff out of it, but I realized that what it's doing is that it's making me anxious." I'm like, you know what? That's because you probably are reacting to it, and the concept behind leaky gut syndrome, like I talked about earlier, is exactly occurring. All that wheat goes into the gut, it creates so much inflammation, and there's not only is there inflammation in the gut, but there's inflammation all over the body. It did not make him feel good. It did not make him feel good. And so there's a lot of people out there suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of people out there suffering from depression and anxiety. And what happens is that it's such a perpetually downward cycle because they use really bad food as their reward. Okay, I went through the same thing. Listen, I went through the same thing in residency. Okay, I went through about just being really overworked in residency. I did not use food as medicine. I did quite the opposite, and I did not feel very good. But once I turned that switch, I felt amazing very shortly afterwards. But there's so many people that are out there, and if you're listening right now, if you're one of those people, I really encourage you to eat whole foods, eat the spectrums of the rainbow, you know, different colored bell peppers and vegetables and chartreuse and lettuce and stuff like that. Eat the spectrum of the rainbow. Get those phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are nutrients that are in plant foods. And have that into your body. When you have that into your body, you feel good about yourself. There's a lot of things that happen within your body. Your inflammation calms down pretty dramatically. And then not everybody is necessarily gluten or wheat insensitive, but try to eliminate wheat from the body and see how you feel. There have been so many of my patients who suffer from this, and I prescribe a gluten-free diet for a month, and over 80% of them have dramatic effect. 80% of them have dramatic effects on the way that they feel and their energy level and everything else. It's absolutely amazing. And this is not taught in any medical school. This is something that I really had to learn, and this is something that actually my mother taught me, because in Chinese medicine, that's what she does. It's all about using food as medicine. It's all about balancing the yin and the yang, right in the middle, not to one side or the other. So if you know anybody who's suffering from depression, don't necessarily tag them in the post because they might not like that, but go ahead and share it. Share this in your feed so that they can benefit from this. Share this in your feed so that they can absorb some of this value, some of the value that's from this video, and use that to motivate them, because everybody loves being motivated. And everybody loves the idea that they can do something immediately to change their health, because everybody can. And once we are empowered by this, then we will do it. If the reason is strong enough, they will do it. But you have to give them a reason. You have to give them motivation. You have to give them tools for them to know that this is absolutely possible. So I know I'm carrying on for a very long time, but once again, share this in your post. I would really love it. But if you know anybody who actually needs a whole lot of help, please share this video with them. I would suggest don't tag them and don't put their names into the comments, because it kind of goes against what you're trying to do, is really helping them. Make it as anonymous as possible. Just share it to your feed and maybe message them if you want. Okay? I thank you so much for listening. I covered so many things in this video, more than I thought I was going to, but I'm just really passionate about using food as medicine. So thank you very much, guys.